Hey, this is Josh for the Camera Project, and today I'm sitting in front of a computer so I can break every rule I've ever set for the channel, yet again. But you see, I have to be sitting in front of a computer because today we're talking about printing. More specifically, printing with the Epson SureColor P600 printer, which is right over there, over my shoulder. When the people over at Epson reached out and asked if I wanted to give the printer a try, I of course jumped at the offer because I've always kind of wanted to print but been kind of afraid of it, and I'll come back to that. If you're like me and you're into photography, which I'm guessing you are if you're watching a YouTube channel called The Camera Project, you go out and you shoot a picture that you're proud of, you edit it, and you're really proud of it, and you post it up on Instagram, and then what happens? You kind of never look at it again. But I've always kind of thought it would be really cool to be able to print a photo out, large format, and hang it on the wall, or maybe even swap photos out every few weeks just to be able to display my work in some way. But I've never really done it because, well, in my history, all printers are awful. And what I mean by that is you buy a multifunction printer and you use it and you look at the photo specs and you get kind of excited and you print some photos for the first few months and they're great. And then a few months later, you go to print again and the color's a little off. And then a few months after that, you print again and there's a big smudge down the middle of the page and your yellow ink is dried out and your black needs to be replaced and your whole printer lights on fire and your house burns down, and well, you get the point. It's an awful experience. Okay, the last part hasn't happened, but it could. But I wanted to be able to try a more professional photo printer. And so when I had this opportunity to get the Epson printer and the Epson media, I kind of jumped at it. Now, this is not going to be a review. I've had the printer for a number of months now, but I don't have extensive printer experience in terms of things to compare it to. So I can't tell you how it compares to others, but I can tell you it's been relatively straightforward, relatively easy, and relatively quick to learn. Now, part of that is that I'm using Epson media with an Epson printer, and the other part of it is that I'm calibrating my monitors. As I've shown you in previous reviews, I use the Datacolor Spider X system to calibrate my monitor, so the results are consistent between what I'm seeing on my monitor and what I'm seeing on the print. So today we're going to do a print, see what the experience is like, and give you some thoughts on the printer. Again, this isn't a review, but I will tell you some specs. The most important one is that the printer is capable of printing prints up to 13 inches by 19 inches with standard paper, and that covers most of my needs because most of the time I'd be printing 11 by 14 or 8 by 10 or 5 by 7. Now, another concern that I had about doing my own prints was cost. Not just the cost of the $800 printer, but the paper and the ink and all those things start to add up. Now, when I first got the printer, I did do a bit of research and found that it seems like the costs are more or less comparable, if not a little bit cheaper than sending out. But what I like about having it, I've always been someone who enjoys convenience. If you have to send a print out every time you want to print, you're just not going to do it. Maybe you'll do it twice a year or 3 times a year. But for me anyway, I wasn't doing it where I just want to do one print and hang it on the wall. So that's what I like about this thing. Let's see what the process is like. So the pictures on my screen now are from a photo workshop that I did with the people over at Princeton Photo Workshops. I led this workshop and it was New York City's The Highline and The Vessel, and these are just some of my selects of the day I went scouting the locations, which I do every time before the class because it changes every so often, and even though I've done the class before, things change. There's new exhibits and artwork along the way, and the vessel itself is brand new, so I want to check it all out before running the workshop. Anyway, here are some of the photos, and I'm just going to start with this one right here. If I go over to the Develop module and check it out, some of the things I want to see about the print here is there's really deep blacks in this picture. If you look at the histogram, you can see a lot of it is in the black. If I hit Option on the blacks, you see there's some solid black, which I'm kind of okay with. If I got rid of all black in the picture, we'd see where it was, right around there. But yeah, I think I kind of liked it where it was before, kind of dark and mysterious, and that's how I like my black and whites in general, very strong and contrasty. So I thought that would make an interesting print. I'm going to be using the Epson Ultra Premium Photo Paper Luster. In terms of the differences between the paper, I think it's just one of those things where you really have to explore. I've done some matte prints and some luster prints and some that are more canvasy, and well, I'm sure people who really know what they're talking about would tell you that it really just depends on the print and what you're looking for. But I've actually been a little happier with the paper with a little bit of a sheen to it, like this luster here. So I'm going to go over to the print module in Lightroom, and right now it is set for 8x10, but I'm going to take you through that setup because it can be confusing, and that's more the fault of Lightroom than the printer itself. So if I go to page setup, in this case, I want to, of course, make sure it's the Epson P600, US letter, borderless in this case. You might select US letter, and then if you do that, you'll see this border around the print, and that's a cool look too, but in this case, I want to go US letter, borderless, auto expand, hit OK, and then because I just had it on US letter, it doesn't smartly reset this layout tab, so I have to do it myself. Get rid of all of the borders here, and change it to full cell size, which you would think it would do when you changed it over to borderless, but it does not. Again, Lightroom being a little confusing. Under print settings, I'm just gonna go over to color matching, and for this, I use the Epson color controls. I've found that they work well and haven't had any real issues. I come over here to print settings, and this I want to make sure I'm on the sheet feeder because that's where I put my paper. Pick Epson Photo Paper, Epson Premium Luster, and that's the really easy part of using the Epson branded media with the Epson printer. Now, I'm not telling you it's better, I'm just telling you it's an easier process for me, who is a neophyte of these sorts of things. I make sure advanced black and white is on, neutral, photo 1440 DPI, and hit save. And then really I could just come here, hit print, and we're gonna see how it goes. So when I moved my office to this room, I decided I wanted to have a place to display prints with getting this printer. And I wanted something where it wouldn't just be in a frame and then I'd put it up and then kind of forget about it and run out of wall space. So I created what's behind me, this magnetic strip where I could swap out prints all the time and, you know, try things out for a few weeks and then swap it out for a new print. I've let the print dry for a few hours, so let's put it up. This is one of the reasons that I said that I've been preferring the luster paper. I found with this matte paper, for whatever reason, maybe it's the humidity down here, it tends to wrinkle up when it's not behind glass, and you know, most people wouldn't be doing it like this. But I found that with the luster prints, they stay just fine. So again, the luster. I think it looks great. So where did I land on this whole printing thing? Well, ultimately, I think that's pretty easy. If it's within your budget, and certainly it's not cheap, and it's within your desire to print, well then think about it. Think about how much money we spend on cameras and lenses and computers, and ultimately, how are we going to show our photography to people other than on a screen? It's nice to have something tangible, be able to print a photo of your family or friends or your art, and be able to hang it on your walls and have people admire it when they walk in, or just admire it yourself and not just post it and forget about it. So yeah, I've been really happy with the P600, and I think you will be too. It just comes down to what you're looking for in a printer. If you like this video, as always, please subscribe. Do it. Come on, subscribe. You know you want to.